Chapter 21. I was taken to see the magistrate, an old man who seemed kind and calm. But when he looked at me, I could tell he was also suspicious. He turned to the people who brought me and asked who would speak as witnesses. About 6 men stepped forward. One of them spoke. He said that he had been fishing the night before with his son and brother-in-law, Daniel Nugent. Around 10 o'clock, a strong wind began to blow from the north, so they decided to return to land. The night was very dark because the moon hadn't risen yet. They didn't go to the usual harbor, but landed at a small beach about 2 miles away. The man walked ahead, carrying part of their fishing tools. The others followed behind. As he walked on the sand, he tripped over something and fell. When the others helped him up and lit their lantern, they saw he had fallen on a man's body. At first, they thought it was someone who had drowned and washed up on the beach. But the clothes were dry, and the body was still warm. They carried the man to a nearby cottage and tried to bring him back to life, but it didn't work. He was a handsome young man, about 25 years old. It looked like he had been strangled, as there were dark finger marks on his neck, but no other injuries. At first, this story didn't mean much to me. But when they said there were finger marks on the man's neck, I remembered how my brother was murdered. I started to shake and felt very weak. I had to sit down. The magistrate watched me closely and thought my reaction looked suspicious. The son of the first man agreed with his story. Then Daniel Nugent said he had seen a small boat with one man in it not far from the shore, just before the man fell. He said the boat looked like the one I had arrived in. Another woman said she lived near the beach and had been waiting for the fishermen to return. An hour before she heard about the body, she saw a boat with one man in it, leaving from the same area where the body was later found. One more woman said the fishermen had brought the body to her house. It was still warm. They put it in a bed and rubbed the man's arms, but he was already dead. Daniel went to town to get a doctor. More people were asked about my arrival. They said it was possible I had been at sea for a long time because of the strong wind and had come back to the same beach. They also said it looked like I had brought the dead body with me and didn't know the area well. After hearing all of this, Mr. Kerwin, the magistrate, told them to take me to see the body. He wanted to see how I reacted. Maybe he noticed how upset I got when they described the way the man had been killed. They took me to the inn where the body was. Even though I knew I had been talking to people on another island at the time of the murder, I felt calm. When I entered the room and saw the body, I was filled with horror. I still cannot forget that moment. It was Henry Clerval, my friend. I could not breathe. I threw myself on the body and cried, "Did my terrible actions cause your death too, Henry? 2 people are already dead because of me, and there will be more. But you, Clerval, my friend, my helper." I couldn't take the pain anymore. My body shook violently, and I fainted. They carried me out of the room. A terrible fever followed. For 2 months, I was close to death. I shouted in fear and guilt. I called myself the murderer of William, Justine, and Clerval. I begged people to help me kill the monster that was haunting me. Sometimes I felt like the monster was grabbing my neck, and I screamed in terror. Only Mr. Kerwin understood me, because I spoke in my native language. But even without understanding the words, people were scared by my screams and wild movements. I often wondered why I didn't die. I had lost everything. Many good people die young, but I stayed alive through so much suffering. Why? I felt cursed. Finally, after 2 months, I woke up in a prison cell. I was lying on a hard bed in a dirty room, surrounded by guards. At first, I didn't remember anything clearly. I just felt like something terrible had happened. When I saw the prison bars and the poor condition of the room, everything came back to me. I groaned in pain. A woman sitting nearby woke up. She was a nurse, but she looked cold and unkind. She asked, "Are you feeling better now, sir?" I answered in a weak voice, "I think so. But if all of this really happened, I wish I had died. This pain is too much." She replied, "If you're talking about the man you killed, then yes, it would be better if you were dead. But I'm just here to take care of you." I turned away from her. She didn't care about my pain. I was too weak to think clearly, and everything felt like a bad dream. As I started to remember more, I grew worse again. I was alone. No one spoke kindly to me or helped me feel better. A doctor came and gave me medicine. The old woman prepared it, but she didn't care about me. Who would care for a murderer, except the one who would hang him? But later, I learned that Mr. Kerwin had actually been very kind. He gave me the best room in the prison and hired a doctor and a nurse. He didn't visit often, but he made sure I was taken care of. One day, while I sat in a chair, pale and tired, Mr. Kerwin came in. He looked at me with sympathy and said in French, "This place must be terrible for you. Can I do anything to help?" I said, "Thank you, but nothing can help me now." He answered, "You will soon leave this prison. I believe there is evidence that will prove your innocence." "I don't care about that," I said. "I am the most miserable person alive. Death would be better." Mr. Kerwin agreed that my situation was very sad. He told me how I had arrived by accident. I was surprised that he knew so much. He explained that when I became sick, they found some letters on me. One was from my father. Mr. Kerwin had written to my family in Geneva. "You are trembling," he said. "You must not get too excited. This waiting is worse than knowing the truth," I replied. "Tell me who else has died," he said gently. "Your family is fine, and someone you know has come to visit." I suddenly thought the monster had come to mock me. I shouted, "Don't let him in. I can't see him." Mr. Kerwin looked shocked. He said sharply, "I thought you would be happy to see your father." "My father?" I cried. All my pain changed to joy. "Is my father really here? Where is he?" Mr. Kerwin smiled and left the room. A moment later, my father came in. Nothing could have made me happier. I held out my hand and asked, "Are you safe? What about Elizabeth and Ernest?" He said they were all well. He tried to cheer me up, but a prison is not a place for happiness. He looked around and said sadly, "What a terrible place. You left home to find happiness, but only bad luck has followed you." And poor Clerval, just hearing Henry's name made me cry. "Yes, father," I said. "I feel cursed. I should have died next to Henry." We couldn't talk for long. I was still too weak. Mr. Kerwin came in and said I needed rest, but having my father there helped me recover slowly. As my body got stronger, my heart stayed heavy. I kept thinking about Henry's dead face. My sadness was deep, and my friends feared I would become sick again. Why had they saved my life? I thought maybe I was meant to finish something. Maybe I needed to face the monster one last time. I had been in prison for 3 months. Even though I was still weak, I had to travel nearly 100 miles to the court. Mr. Kerwin took care of everything to defend me. Luckily, the court saw that I was on the Orkney Islands when Henry died, so I was found innocent. My father was overjoyed when I was freed and allowed to return home. But I didn't share his happiness. I felt no joy in life anymore. Even though the sun was shining, I felt like I lived in total darkness. I kept seeing Henry's face or the monster's cruel eyes. My father tried to cheer me up by talking about Geneva, Elizabeth, and Ernest. Sometimes I thought about Elizabeth and felt a small bit of happiness, but most of the time, I felt nothing but pain. I often wanted to die and needed to be watched so I wouldn't hurt myself. But I had one duty left. I had to go back to Geneva to protect the people I loved. And if I saw the monster again, I would try to kill him. My father wanted to wait until I was stronger, but I insisted on leaving. So we got on a ship going to France and sailed away from Ireland. I lay on the deck at night, listening to the waves and looking at the stars. I was glad to leave that terrible place. But I knew this was not a dream. Henry was dead, killed by the monster I had created. As we sailed, I thought about my life. I remembered the happy times in Geneva, my mother's death, and going to school in Ingolstadt. I remembered how my dream to create life became a nightmare. I felt deep guilt for everything that had happened. Chapter 22. Our trip ended, and we arrived in Paris. I was very tired and weak, and I needed to rest before I could continue traveling. My father took great care of me. He tried everything to help, but he didn't understand the real reason for my pain. He thought I needed to go out and meet people to feel better. But I didn't want to see anyone. Still, I didn't hate people. They were my brothers and sisters in the world. I even felt love for the ones who seemed unpleasant. But I felt that I didn't belong with them anymore. I had created a terrible enemy who enjoyed killing people. If anyone knew what I had done, they would hate me and chase me away. At last, my father accepted that I didn't want to see other people. He tried to cheer me up in different ways. Sometimes he thought I was upset because people believed I had killed someone. He said I shouldn't be so proud. "Oh, Father," I said, "you don't understand me. A person like me has no right to feel proud. Poor Justine was innocent like me, and she died. And it was my fault. I killed her. William, Justine, and Henry, all of them died because of me." My father had heard me say this before, while I was in prison. Sometimes he wanted to know more, but other times he thought I was just sick and imagining things. I didn't tell him the truth. I stayed silent about the monster I had made. I was afraid he would think I was crazy. But more than that, I couldn't bear to tell him such a horrible secret. I really wanted to share my pain, but I kept quiet. Still, sometimes I said things like, "I am guilty," without meaning to. Saying these things helped me feel a little better, even if no one understood. My father looked at me with surprise and said, "My dear Victor, what strange thoughts you have. Please don't say that again." "I'm not mad," I shouted. "The sun and sky saw everything I did. I am the one who caused their deaths. I would have died for them, but I couldn't save them. I couldn't give up all of humanity to stop the monster." After hearing this, my father believed I was truly not well. He quickly changed the subject and tried to distract me from my dark thoughts. He never spoke of what had happened in Ireland again. With time, I became calmer. I was still sad, but I didn't speak wildly anymore. I kept my feelings deep inside. I fought the desire to tell others what I had done. I appeared more peaceful than I had been since my journey to the frozen lands. A few days before we left Paris for Switzerland, I received a letter from Elizabeth. Letter from Elizabeth, Simplified. My dear friend, I was so happy to get a letter from my uncle in Paris. Now that you're close, I hope to see you in less than 2 weeks. My poor cousin, you must have suffered so much. I think you will look even worse than when you left Geneva. This winter has been very hard for me. I've been worried all the time. Still, I hope to see peace in your eyes again and know that you can still find some comfort and happiness. But I worry that the same sad feelings from last year are still in your heart. I didn't want to upset you, but I must talk about something important before we meet. You might ask, what does Elizabeth need to explain? If you do, maybe I don't need to explain anything at all. But because you are far away, I don't know how you feel. You may be afraid or unsure about what I want to say. That's why I decided to write this letter, even though it was hard for me. Victor, you know that our parents always wanted us to get married. We grew up believing that we would one day be together. We were happy as children and became close friends as we got older. But maybe we feel more like brother and sister now? Please, be honest with me. Tell me the truth. Do you love someone else? You lived for a long time in Ingolstadt and traveled a lot. When I last saw you, you seemed so sad and alone. I thought maybe you felt forced to keep your promise to your parents and marry me, even if your heart wasn't in it. But that would be a mistake. I love you, Victor. You are always in my dreams of the future. but I want you to be happy. If marrying me would make you sad, then I would be miserable too. I don't want to be the reason for your pain. Please be honest with me, Victor. I only want your happiness. Don't feel pressure to answer right away. I will hear from my uncle how you are. If you smile even once when we meet, that will be enough for me. With love, Elizabeth Lavenza, Geneva, May 18th. After reading the letter, I remembered the monster's threat. I will be with you on your wedding night. That was his promise. I knew he would try to kill me then. I believed I would either kill him or die myself. If I died, at least his power over me would end. But even if I won, what life would I have left? Like a man whose family is dead and home is gone, he is free, but broken. Elizabeth was my only treasure. Her letter brought back warm feelings. For a moment, I dreamed of love and peace. But I remembered what I had done. The happiness I hoped for was already poisoned. Still, I wanted to make her happy. If the monster killed me, so be it. But I worried. If I delayed our wedding to avoid the threat, the monster might find a worse way to hurt me. He had already killed Henry just after he made his threat. So, I decided we would marry soon. I would not let the monster's threat stop me. I wrote to Elizabeth kindly, "My dear girl, I don't expect much joy in life, but all the happiness I hope for is with you. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I give my life to you. After our wedding, I will tell you a terrible secret that will make you understand everything. Until then, please don't ask about it." A week after Elizabeth's letter arrived, we went back to Geneva. She greeted me with love, but she cried when she saw how sick and thin I looked. I saw changes in her too. She had lost some of her energy, but her kindness made her even more dear to me. My peace didn't last. My memories tortured me. Sometimes I was full of anger, sometimes deeply sad. I barely spoke. Only Elizabeth could calm me. Her gentle voice and care helped me feel human again. When I was thinking clearly, she would talk to me kindly and try to give me hope. Soon after I came home, my father said we should marry right away. I said nothing at first. He asked, "Do you love someone else?" "No," I said. "I love Elizabeth and want to marry her. Let's choose a day. On that day, I will give myself fully to her, even if it means my death." "My son," he replied, "we've had many losses. But let's love those who remain. Our family may be small now, but our love can keep us strong. Maybe time will bring new joys to replace the old ones." But I kept thinking about the monster's promise. He had never failed to carry out his threats. I felt sure something terrible would happen on my wedding night. But I agreed with my father to marry in 10 days. I believed I was agreeing to my own death. If only I had realized the monster's real plan. If I had known what he truly meant, I would have run away forever. But he had tricked me. I thought I was the target, but he had someone else in mind. As the wedding day came closer, I felt afraid. But I hid my feelings. My father was happy, and even Elizabeth smiled more, though she still had some fear. She hoped everything would be fine, but her heart was not at peace. We made plans for the wedding. Friends came to visit. Everyone was happy. I tried to act cheerful and joined in, but inside I felt like I was walking toward disaster. My father had helped Elizabeth get back some of her family property in Como. We planned to go there right after the wedding. I kept weapons with me at all times, pistols and a knife, just in case the monster attacked. These made me feel safer. As the wedding day came closer, I began to believe the threat might not come true. Elizabeth seemed happy. My calm behavior helped her relax. But on our wedding day, she was sad and nervous. Maybe she was afraid of the secret I had promised to tell her after the wedding. My father was full of joy. Many guests came to celebrate. That evening, Elizabeth and I began our trip by boat. We planned to sleep at Evian and continue traveling the next day. The weather was beautiful. Those were the last moments of real happiness I ever knew. We sailed across the lake, enjoying the view. I held Elizabeth's hand and said, "You are sad, my love. If you knew my pain, you would help me enjoy this one quiet day." "Be happy, Victor," she answered. "There's nothing to fear. Even if I don't look joyful, my heart is calm. I feel something bad may happen, but I try not to think about it. Look at the lake, the mountains, the sky. It's a perfect day." She tried to keep the mood light, but her feelings changed often. Sometimes she smiled, but then went quiet again. The sun was setting. We passed rivers and hills. The mountains rose up around us. We could see the town of Evian in the distance. The wind slowed down as the sun disappeared. The air was soft, and the trees moved gently. The smell of flowers and fresh grass filled the air. As I stepped onto the land, my heart filled with fear again. And those fears would never leave me.